Okay, what if I told you that one of the absolute biggest hubs for online gambling in the world doesn't actually have any online gambling laws? It sounds completely backwards, I know, but that's the reality in Costa Rica. So how on earth did this Central American nation become such a magnet for iGaming companies? Let's dive in and figure it out. Just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, over 300 international betting companies have set up shop in Costa Rica. That is a huge number. These aren't small operations either. We're talking massive call centers and data hubs serving millions of people all over the world, all run from this one country.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How is it possible for Costa Rica to be a global iGaming powerhouse when it doesn't even have a single federal law to regulate online gambling? It's a paradox, for sure, but the answer is hiding in a really clever legal loophole.
The secret, the key to this whole thing, is a legal workaround so slick we're calling it the not a gambling license. You see, it's a system that lets companies operate in this kind of legal gray area, getting all the benefits of a tax-friendly country without all the red tape of traditional gambling regulations.
So instead of getting a complex gambling license, companies in Costa Rica just get what's called a data processing license. And get this, it's just a simple permit from a local town hall that lets them host servers and process data. Think of it more like a tech license, not a gaming one. It's kind of like getting a library card to run a casino. To really put this into perspective, getting a traditional gambling license in another country is like trying to climb Mount Everest. It is a long, difficult journey, just packed with paperwork, legal hoops, and huge costs. The Costa Rican model? Well, that's like taking an elevator straight to the top. It's fast, it's cheap, and you get to skip all that bureaucracy. The whole system really just boils down to one simple legal idea. It's not about where your customers are playing from, it's about where your servers are physically located. As long as a company's infrastructure, its computers, its servers, is based in Costa Rica, the government sees it as a local business, even if every single one of its customers is on the other side of the planet.
Now, this whole setup didn't just pop up overnight. Nope. It's actually the result of this century-long tug-of-war between old anti-gambling laws and the explosion of the digital age. It started way back in 1922 with a law that banned most gambling. But then, the internet happened in the 90s, and everything changed. The first offshore companies started showing up, and while the government has passed new laws since, the core of this offshore model has stayed in this really fascinating legal limbo.
So you might be thinking, this sounds like the Wild West of online gambling. How does it all actually work? Well, believe it or not, it's not as chaotic as it seems. If you want to operate legally in Costa Rica, you have to play by a very specific set of rules. Just think of it like a four-step process. First, you have to set up a real local company. Step 2, you get your hands on that golden ticket, the municipal data processing permit. Third, and this is the big one, you have to promise you will only serve customers outside of Costa Rica. And finally, you have to prove you're one of the good guys by following some pretty strict anti-money laundering rules.
This right here, this quote, is the key to the entire kingdom. Operators have to build a kind of digital fortress around Costa Rica. They have to block local IP addresses and make absolutely sure their ads never, ever reach the local population. It's the unwritten rule that allows this whole offshore model to keep on working.
So who's actually keeping an eye on all of this? Well, it's really a team effort. You've got the local municipalities acting as the gatekeepers, since they're the ones handing out the permits. Then there's the Costa Rican Drug Institute, or ICD, which is the watchdog, always sniffing around for any signs of money laundering. And finally, the Ministry of Economy, or MEIC, is like the Truth Squad, making sure all the advertising is honest and isn't aimed at locals.
All right, so what's the big payoff for playing by all these rules? Well, it really comes down to the two things that make the business world spin: money and saving even more money.
Let's talk about the cost of entry. That super important data processing permit, it'll only set you back about $5,000 to $7,500. That's it. That's less than a used car, and it gets you a foothold in a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's kind of crazy.
And now for the number that makes every executive's jaw drop: zero. As in 0%. That's the corporate tax rate that these companies pay on all the revenue they make from customers outside of Costa Rica. It's basically a tax haven in paradise. So how in the world do they get away with paying zero taxes? It's all because Costa Rica has what's called the territorial tax system. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Costa Rica only taxes income that is generated inside its territory. Since all the customers and all the money is coming from outside the country, the government basically says, hey, That's not our business and doesn't take a cut. Okay, so it all sounds like sunshine and rainbows, right? Super cheap, no taxes. What's the catch? Well, not so fast. This tropical paradise definitely has a riskier side. And for any company thinking about setting up shop, the big question is the reward really worth the gamble?
Let's break it down. On the one hand, the advantages are huge. You can get into the market super fast, your costs are incredibly low, and you don't pay any local gaming tax. But on the other hand, you're totally locked out of the local market, some big international banks might not want to do business with you, and you're jumping into a very crowded pool with hundreds of other companies.
So, here's the bottom line. Costa Rica is the ultimate launch pad for iGaming companies. It's fast, it's cheap, it's an amazing place to get a business off the ground. But, and this is a big but, it's also a gamble. The legal ground is always shifting, and nobody knows for sure how stable this whole model will be in the long run.
So, what does the future hold for this iGaming paradise? You know, as the online world keeps changing and international rules get tighter, will Costa Rica's unique gray market model be able to keep up? Or is this a high-stakes bet that's eventually just going to run out of luck? I guess only time will tell.